Andrew Berry didn't wait until the offseason to start fixing the Browns' receiving problems. His mid-season acquisition of Jamari Thrash was a clear warning shot. Underperformance would no longer be tolerated, regardless of contract or reputation. That urgency has now escalated, with internal leaks pointing to a sweeping change at WR1. JEUDY, once thought to be the Browns' top target, has lost favor not just for his drop rate and lack of separation. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. But for something even harder to forgive, resistance to the offensive system designed for SHEDEUR Sanders. In a team built around youth and adaptation, JEUDY stood still, and that's a deal breaker. This isn't just about upgrading talent. The Browns are overhauling the emotional and structural core of their offense. They need receivers who want to grow with Sanders, not obstruct his path. With the 6th pick, they'll likely take a rookie who fits that mold. Someone like Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, both known for their work ethic and football IQ. The move sends a message. Cleveland isn't waiting for players to catch up anymore. They're selecting teammates who can help Sanders thrive, not players who make survival harder. JEUDY's collapse as the Cleveland Browns WR1 isn't just a headline. It's the final chapter in a slow-burning disaster that's now forcing the entire organization to pivot. What started as quiet frustration has exploded into full-scale rejection. The Browns aren't just disappointed in JEUDY's performance. They've made it clear they're moving on. And it's not just speculation anymore. Multiple insider reports confirm the front office is preparing to replace JEUDY with a top-tier wide receiver prospect in the NFL draft. Not to push him, not to challenge him, to replace him. This is about more than drop passes, though those alone would be enough. JEUDY finished the season with the 2nd worst drop rate among all starting wide receivers. That stat alone would normally be buried in an end-of-season recap. But in this case, it's the foundation of a larger collapse. The drops weren't isolated. They were consistent, drive-killing, confidence-breaking, repeatedly halting momentum and exposing a rookie quarterback who desperately needed a dependable safety net. And that's where things really fell apart. SHEDEUR Sanders is still learning the speed, the complexity, and the pressure of professional football. Cleveland knew that when they brought him in. That's why the team retooled the offense, to make his transition smoother, to give him the tools to succeed. And JEUDY? He couldn't or wouldn't adapt. Sources say JEUDY didn't buy in. He resisted changes that were put in place for one clear reason, to elevate Sanders. Instead of stepping up and helping lead that transition, JEUDY distanced himself. Whether it was ego, frustration, or just denial, it created friction in the locker room and confusion on the field. And it got worse. JEUDY didn't just underperform. He didn't just miss catches. He confronted Sanders during games, reportedly blaming him for mistakes that started with JEUDY himself. That alone would spark tension. But he took it even further, criticizing Sanders publicly in a recent interview, deflecting blame from his own failings and redirecting it at the rookie QB. That was the final blow. The locker room saw it, coaches saw it, and the front office saw enough. Veteran players are supposed to shield young quarterbacks, not throw them under the bus, especially when those quarterbacks are still learning the game at the highest level. JEUDY, instead, became a cautionary tale, a veteran who not only failed to deliver, but poisoned the environment around the player the entire team is being built around. So now, Cleveland is preparing to make the move. The 6th overall pick gives them the perfect opportunity to draft a real WR1, one that fits the system, one that fits the quarterback, one that fits the culture they're trying to build. And that's what this is really about. Culture. Andrew Berry isn't just chasing stats. He's chasing accountability. He's already shown he's willing to pull the trigger when something isn't working. The mid-season acquisition of Jamari Thrash was the first sign. Thrash showed he could be a reliable target and adjust quickly to Sanders. It was a signal. The front office was testing the water for a larger shakeup. And now it's happening. JEUDY, once a prize WR1, is being phased out, not because he can't play, but because he won't play the way this team needs him to. His limitations in creating separation, his inability to win contested catches, his resistance to change, his public criticism of a rookie quarterback. It's a pattern of behavior that directly opposes the kind of culture Barry is trying to instill, one based on support, execution, and accountability. And it's not just about one player anymore. This move, drafting someone like Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, would mark a full reset, a message to the rest of the roster that no one is above the mission, that the Browns are done enabling inconsistency. That SHEDEUR Sanders is the future, and he will be protected, developed, and surrounded by players who get it. Both Tate and Tyson are names that carry weight for a reason. Tate brings polished, precise route running and a fearless presence in traffic, something this offense has been sorely missing. Tyson, with his versatility and deep threat ability, would stretch the field and give Sanders a chance to take real shots downfield, something JEUDY couldn't consistently provide. These aren't just upgrades. They're tone setters. They're players you pair with a young quarterback to grow together, build chemistry, and stack reps that matter. And most importantly, they're coachable. They're moldable. They fit the new standard. Because make no mistake, the Browns are raising the bar. The days of coddling veteran underachievers are over. They're not just drafting talent. They're drafting character, work ethic, emotional intelligence, the kind of intangibles that win games in November, when your roster is tired, your QB is bruised, and your WR1 has to make a third down play. JEUDY couldn't be trusted to make that play. And worse, he couldn't be trusted to take responsibility when he didn't. That's why this shift isn't reactionary. It's deliberate. It's about building long-term continuity around Sanders, about creating an offense that doesn't just function, it thrives. An offense with timing, rhythm, trust. You don't get that with a receiver who drops the ball and blames the quarterback. You get that with someone who digs into the playbook, stays late after practice, and catches the ball in traffic without flinching. That's who Cleveland is looking for. That's who they're drafting. As for JEUDY, his options are shrinking. He may land on another roster. Maybe someone takes a low-risk flyer on his talent. But his days as a WR1, especially in Cleveland, are over. He's no longer viewed as a building block. He's viewed as an obstacle. Whether it's a trade, a release, or a quiet demotion at the bottom of the depth chart, the writing is on the wall. The Browns are moving on, and they're doing it with purpose. And it's not just about one draft pick. This is the start of a larger transformation. Barry has already shown he won't hesitate to make changes midseason. The Thrash move proved that. The shift away from JEUDY confirms it. And this upcoming draft, it's the exclamation point. Because this isn't just about fixing the wide receiver room. It's about protecting the most important investment in the building, SHEDEUR Sanders. His growth depends on the people around him, not just on the field, but in the film room, in the locker room, on the sidelines during a 2-minute drill. Every snap he takes is shaping his future, and the Browns are making sure those snaps aren't wasted. That means no more drops, no more drama, no more passive-aggressive interviews. Just football. So if you're a Browns fan who's been watching this all unfold, now's the time to lock in. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who should they draft at 6? Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson? Or is there another name you've got your eye on? Hit the like button if you're ready for a real WR1 in Cleveland. Share this with anyone still clinging to the JEUDY era. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a second of this Browns rebuild. Because what's coming next? That's the real story. And here's the thing. This move the Browns are making, it's not a reaction to one bad game or one toxic interview. It's a full-on indictment of the entire JEUDY experiment. They've seen enough. Jerry JEUDY was supposed to be a core piece, not just a contributor. He was given the WR1 role, the trust, the playbook, the reps, and the chance to become a veteran leader in a system specifically restructured around a young quarterback. And what did he give back? Missed routes, dropped passes, visible frustration, and one of the worst drop rates in the entire league. There's bad play, then there's bad leadership. JEUDY checked both boxes, so now we're here. The front office has had enough, and insiders say they're actively mapping out what the post-JEUDY offense looks like. That future starts with a 6th pick in the upcoming draft, and it's clear they're targeting a real WR1, not a placeholder. not a Band-Aid, a cornerstone. And honestly, this isn't just about Jerry Jeudy anymore. This is about what the Cleveland Browns refused to be again. For too long, the Browns were a team known for settling, for tolerating inconsistency, keeping guys around because of name value or draft status, hoping they'd figure out while seasons slipped away. But this is a new era, one built on accountability, and one that doesn't care about your past resume if your current tape tells a different story. Jeudy's tape this year told a very clear story. This is not a WR1, not by performance, not by attitude, not by anything that matters when it comes to building a team around a young quarterback. Because let's not forget, this entire shift is about SHEDEUR Sanders. Every offensive decision right now is centered around his development. And the reality is, you don't let a rookie QB take the field week after week knowing his primary target is unreliable and resentful. That's how you ruin a quarterback before he ever gets the chance to flourish. The coaching staff gave Jeudy multiple chances to adjust, multiple weeks to get it together. They simplified the playbook. They shifted looks to get him better matchups. They fed him targets early in games to build confidence. It didn't work. And then, instead of owning that regression, Jeudy made it worse by pointing fingers directly at the quarterback who was trying to lead through the chaos. That kind of behavior doesn't just get you benched, it gets you replaced. And that's exactly what's happening now. With the 6th overall pick, the Browns have a chance to draft someone who actually fits what they're building. Someone who will grind through camp, build timing with Sanders, and actually catch the football. Someone like Carnell Tate, who's known for his smooth route running and toughness over the middle, or Jordan Tyson, a technician with elite body control and the ability to work both inside and outside. These aren't just upgrades, they're foundational players. Guys who can be part of a long-term system. Guys who can help Sanders settle in and take control of this offense, not leave him exposed when a third down throw hits him square in the hands. The Browns need receivers who show up in those moments. Jeudy didn't. He dropped them, literally, and then looked around like someone else was supposed to clean it up. There's no more time for that. Andrew Berry and the Browns front office aren't trying to scrape together wins anymore. They're trying to build something stable, something that lasts. And you can't do that when your supposed WR1 is holding back your quarterback, clashing with coaches, and leaking blame to the media. And the locker room, they've noticed. This isn't just a front office issue. This is a culture issue. Veterans who do this, who talk down to rookies, refuse accountability, and sulk through scheme changes, don't get much sympathy from teammates. Especially not when the rookie they're throwing under the bus is showing up to practice, learning on the fly, and taking hits in real time. By removing Jeudy, or at the very least, stripping him of WR1 status, the Browns are doing something crucial, protecting the locker room. Because if there's one thing every successful team in this league has, it's internal alignment. When a player starts acting like they're above the rest, especially when they're not performing, it breaks that. Jeudy broke it. Now, Cleveland's making sure the next guy won't. Whoever they draft at 6, they'll know from day one. Your job isn't just catch passes. It's to support the quarterback, to buy into the system, to compete without the ego. Because the Browns are tired of waiting on veterans who think they're stars but play like practice squad guys. They're ready for real production, real chemistry, and real leadership. Jeudy could have been part of that vision. He had every opportunity to pivot, to be the mentor, to reset after the drops, put in the work, and embrace the new identity of the offense. But instead of evolving, he turned defensive. Instead of lifting up the guy next to him, he dragged him down. And in the NFL, especially on a team trying to shake off years of mediocrity, that's all it takes to get pushed out. So the question now isn't if Jeudy is out, it's how. Do they trade him for whatever they can get? Do they release him and eat the cost? Do they bury him on the depth chart and move forward without even acknowledging him as a WR1? All options are reportedly on the table. And regardless of which route they choose, the message stays the same. This is SHEDEUR's offense now. And anyone not ready to build around that, really build, is gone. The draft pick is just the start. The Browns are rebuilding this offense from the inside out. They're looking for players who understand the assignment, who want to grow with the quarterback, who run the routes the way they're drawn, fight for the ball, and take ownership when they mess up. There's no more room for drama, for passive-aggressive interviews, for drop passes followed by roles and blame. That's why the front office is moving aggressively. They're not going to wait another season to see if JEUDY gets it together. He's had time. He's had targets. He's had protection. Now he's out of excuses. So Browns fans, buckle up. This draft is going to be a turning point, not just for the roster, but for the identity of this team. A new WR1 is coming. One that actually fits the system. One that respects the quarterback. One that won't sabotage the offense every time the pressure kicks in. And when that happens, it won't just be the end of JEUDY's time in Cleveland. It'll be the start of a completely new chapter. One where drop passes, locker room tension, and media blame games are not part of the weekly storyline. One where SHEDEUR Sanders can grow into the quarterback he's meant to be, without being dragged down by someone who couldn't handle his own accountability. Let's keep this rolling, because at this point, we're not just talking about a roster change. We're talking about a complete ideological shift in Cleveland. And the craziest part? It's long overdue. How many times have the Browns poured resources into talented but inconsistent players, hoping this time will be different? That they'd turn around? That they'd live up to their scouting report instead of their track record? Jerry Jeudy isn't the first wide receiver the team banked on and let down by. But this time, the stakes are different. Because now, they've got SHEDEUR Sanders. A rookie quarterback with a ton of hype, a ton of expectations, and very little margin for error. When you're building around a young QB, every decision matters. You don't just need guys who can catch the ball. You need guys who show up when everything else breaks down. And JEUDY? He disappeared when it mattered most. We're not talking about a few isolated moments here. This was a season-long pattern of underperformance. Second worst in the league in drops. Routinely failed to create separation. Couldn't win contested catches. And even when Sanders did put the ball exactly where it needed to be, JEUDY couldn't finish the play. But the numbers were just the tip of the iceberg. What really made the situation go nuclear was JEUDY's attitude. Behind the scenes, the tension had been simmering for weeks. Coaches noticed his reluctance to buy into the new scheme. Teammates saw his body language, the frustration, the blame shifting. But when he confronted SHEDEUR during a game, then doubled down by publicly blaming him in a post-game interview, that was it. That's when the Browns realized this isn't a performance problem anymore. It's a culture problem. And in the NFL, culture wins games just as much as talent does. You can't build a winning offense when your WR1 is blaming the rookie quarterback for mistakes that were clearly his own. You can't grow a locker room when your supposed leader is actively resisting the system. And you definitely can't protect a young QB when his top target turns on him in front of the entire football world. That's why this decision had to be made. Not next season. Not after one more chance. Now. And it's not just a matter of replacing JEUDY with someone slightly better. This is a full-scale reset. The Browns aren't just looking for a WR1. They're looking for the WR1 who can define the SHEDEUR Sanders era. That's where names like Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson come into play. We're not talking about projects or late-round flyers. These are elite plug-and-play prospects. Guys who can step in immediately and make an impact. Who can be where they're supposed to be. Who don't shy away from the moment. And more importantly, who don't make headlines for the wrong reasons. The Browns know what they're doing. They've been planning for this since the moment JEUDY started unraveling midseason. You could see it in the Jamari Thrash pickup. Barry wasn't just trying to patch a hole. He was testing the waters, seeing how a new receiver would work with SHEDEUR, seeing how quickly a fresh face could adapt to the system. And Thrash? He didn't set the world on fire, but he held on to the ball. He ran his routes. He clicked with Sanders more than JEUDY ever did. That's all the front office needed to confirm. The issue wasn't the playbook. It wasn't the quarterback. It was JEUDY. And now, they're ready to upgrade in every way. The 6th overall pick is a gift. It's rare you get to draft this high with your quarterback already in place. Most teams picking the top 10 are still trying to find a QB. Cleveland already has theirs. All they have to do now is build around him the right way. That means getting a WR1 who actually wants to grow with him, who studies film, who shows up early, who builds chemistry off the field and on it. Someone who doesn't duck responsibility or try to dodge accountability in post-game interviews. That's why this moment is so important, because it's not just about getting better at wide receiver. It's about who the Browns want to be. They've been the team that waited too long to move on, that hoped talent would eventually outweigh toxicity, that trusted guys who never delivered. And now, they're finally done with all that. They've got a quarterback they believe in. They've got the draft capital to build around him. And they've got a front office that's shown it's willing to act before things spiral completely out of control. The only thing left to do now is pull the trigger, and Jeudy knows it. He might still be on the roster at the time you're watching this, but let's be honest, that's just a technicality. Whether it's a post-draft trade, an outright release, or a quiet demotion to WR3 purgatory, his time as a central piece of this offense is done. And frankly, it has to be. You can't build a winning team with players who don't take ownership of their mistakes, who create tension instead of chemistry, who show more energy in front of a microphone than they do on the field. And the locker room knows it too. Veteran players don't have to be perfect. They don't even have to be stars. But they do have to set the tone. And when your most experienced receiver is publicly criticizing the quarterback and refusing to evolve with the offense, that tone is rotten. That's why this new wave, these draft prospects the Browns are eyeing, is so refreshing. Because they're not just prospects. They're potential cornerstones. Whoever gets picked at 6 will walk into Cleveland knowing exactly what expected. Support the quarterback. Run your routes. Own your mistakes. And leave the drama at the door. It's not flashy, but it works. And if that receiver clicks with Sanders early, if they start building timing and trust right away, Cleveland could be looking at something real for the first time in a long time. An offense that isn't dysfunctional. A locker room that isn't fractured. A culture that finally values the right things. Because the Browns aren't just trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to become a team that lasts. A team that gets better every year. And that doesn't happen with guys like Jeudy still lingering in the WR1 spot. That happens with players who want to be part of the solution, who don't wilt under pressure or lash out when things go wrong, who lift up their quarterback, not break him down in front of cameras. So where does Jeudy go from here? Probably to another team willing to roll the dice on his talent. Maybe as a WR3, maybe on a prove-it deal. Maybe he turns it around. Maybe he doesn't. But his time as a featured option in a locker room trying to build something cohesive, that's over. And in Cleveland, that's a very good thing. So if you've been watching this unfold all season, let's hear from you. Was this the right move? Who do you want to see the Browns take at number 6? Carnell Tate? Jordan Tyson? Or someone else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you've been calling for a WR1 reset since week 5. Share this with a Browns fan in your life who kept trying to defend Jeudy. And subscribe so you don't miss what could be the most important draft decision of Cleveland's next decade. Because whatever happens in that draft room, it's not just about replacing a wide receiver. It's about setting the tone for the whole future.